Sleep apnea. That's what the doc thinks I have. It has something to do with my tongue getting in the way of my breathing while I sleep at night. I don't totally understand it, but I trust him. Just to be sure, he asked me to record myself sleeping for a night. That's when things got creepy. Doc sent me home with a little audio recorder. I told him I could just use my phone, but he insisted I use this device. I guess the old guy didn't want to have to learn new tech just to listen to me snore. I put the recorder on my bedside table the first night I brought it home and pressed record. Once the little red light started blinking, I rolled over and went to sleep. I took the recorder to Doc's office the next morning. I made sure to tell him I could have just emailed the file to him if he had let me use my phone. He politely brushed my comment aside and thanked me for bringing the device back so quickly. On my way to work, I got a call from one of Doc's nurses. She said something had gone wrong when I had used the recorder, and no audio was captured. I'd have to stop by again to get the device and try to record myself once more. I was frustrated to say the least. She didn't say it directly, but the tone in her voice expressed blame in me for the error. I picked up the recorder on my way home and decided I would follow Doc's orders, but use my phone to record as well. If this little device failed again, we would have my phone's recording as a backup. That night, I pressed record on his device, then set my phone to record right next to it. I woke the next morning and decided to check the recordings myself before driving to Doc's office with another dud. I pressed play on his device and found that, once again, something had gone wrong. The file was about 3 minutes long. I could hear myself getting into bed and settling in. About a minute of breathing was recorded before, click, the device turned off. Immediately assuming the problem laid with Doc's cheap equipment, I checked my phone. I remember feeling pretty confused when the screen lit up to show that recording was only a couple seconds longer than the first. I pressed play and listened to myself get in bed again. Nearly at the end, I heard a strange noise. I went back and listened again. It sounded like a deep exhale, but I could distinctly hear myself breathing too. I let the audio keep playing that time and distinctly heard someone pick up the recorder, which had been laying right next to my phone. I heard the device get turned off and set back down before the phone's recording was stopped too. Had I shut off the devices in my sleep? I listened again, but no, I could hear myself the entire time. My slow breathing was too far away from either device to have reached over and shut them off. I opted to try again before saying anything to Doc. I also added a third device to the mix, making myself feel like a lab rat under observation. I set my laptop on the dresser so its camera was facing my bed. I repeated the same routine, pressing record on Doc's device, then my phone, and finally I started recording video on my laptop. I dimmed the screen so it wouldn't keep me up, then got in bed and went to sleep. Maybe you won't be surprised that I got the same results on Doc's device and my phone that night. Recordings roughly 2 minutes long played back the sounds of me falling asleep, and my phone caught the sound of someone shutting off the recorder before it got turned off too. My one hope was that I hadn't heard anyone touch the laptop on either recording. I woke up the computer and was dismayed to see that it had stopped recording at some point during the night. A pop-up was asking me, "Do you want to save before quitting?" I clicked yes and opened the newly saved file. I saw myself walk away from the laptop, get under the covers, roll over, and start breathing rhythmically as I fell asleep. About 2 minutes into the video, my heart sank, and my blood ran cold. Some kind of black mist started pouring in from the crack under my bedroom door. It nearly covered the entire floor before something rose out of the center of the swirling mass. A figure formed right next to my bed. I couldn't make out any features, but its head nearly touched the ceiling. The figure moved slowly towards my bedside table. It stood, or hovered, with its back to the camera, but I knew what it was doing. First, it picked up the audio recorder and turned it off. Then it did the same to my phone. The shadowy form then turned toward me, sleeping and unaware on my bed. I wanted to cry out, to scream at myself to wake up, but my rational side won over and I just watched as the black shape loomed over me. Without warning, The being's head turned sharply towards the camera. It didn't have eyes, but I could feel its gaze boring into me through the screen. It moved so fast, it could have teleported across the room, suddenly appearing directly in front of the camera. Now I could see its face. It looked like a skull, only narrower and longer. 2 white dots floated in the middle of enormous black eye sockets, and I felt as if they were piercing through my heart. That was the last thing the camera captured. I didn't tell Doc about the video. I dropped the recorder off at the front desk when the administrator had stepped away and left without saying a word. I've gotten a few messages from him saying that I'll have to record myself again, that the device didn't work. I'll be damned if I record whatever that was again, though. It doesn't matter anyway. I don't think sleep apnea, or anything else the doc could fix, is what's disturbing my sleep.